Okay, can everybody hear me in the back? Great. We're going to get started. We're about 5 minutes late to getting started. We had a real short break there, so apologize for getting started a little bit late, but we'll get her going here. My name is Don Miller. I work for Oneida Engineering Solutions, and I'll be moderating this particular session today. We got a very exciting topic. I can't make it as exciting as our Tim would probably make it. You know, he's going to be doing a rap and he's going to be doing other things going on. But I'm just kind of an engineer, and I'm going to be doing a little. My ex-wife used to call it more of a monotone version of what he's doing. So, anyway, we're going to get started here, and I'm going to introduce our presenters. So, first of all, we have James Bender, who is a project management professional. He's certified in that area. He is the Innovation and Technology Manager in the Division of Transportation System Development, DTSD, at WSDOT. He develops, directs, and administers the division's innovation program, which includes researching, analyzing, assessing financial impacts and benefits, and providing implementation recommendations for DTSD and partners. James develops and directs, administers the division's technology program and associated processes and activities, including organizing and leading implementation efforts. So implementation is a big part of innovation, as you all know. He works with an amazing team that coordinates and leads projects that have division-wide impacts, geographical information system, GIS, records and contact management, process improvement, technology, and application support. We also have with us today, James is going to be doing the majority of the presentation, but we also have with us today David Essie, who I had the pleasure of hiring, I don't know, when was it, 15 years ago?
Almost 10.
Almost 10, okay. It seems like a long time ago.
15.
Yeah. As when DOT kind of got into the innovation business back about 10 years or so ago, we spent a lot of time at national conferences, some of the leadership, and saw what other states were doing in innovation, and we decided we needed to put a program together at WSDOT. And these guys here are the people that got the program going, got a process going. James has now taken a little bit of that off of David's hands as he's got a different position. I'm going to talk about that in just a minute. So David now is the director of the Office of Workforce, Innovation and Budget, OWIB, within the Division of Transportation System Development at the Wisconsin DOT. His key role at DTSD's OWIB director is to foster a culture of innovation, support the development of a strong DTSD workforce, push for continuous process improvement, and enhance communication that tells the DTSD story. So today we've got kind of, like as I mentioned, two innovation leaders at the department, and they're going to give us a presentation on emerging technologies and highway construction. So with that, James, you can take it away.
Sure. Hi, I'm James, as introductions. So talk about emerging technologies. I know this was a presentation that was put on last year. I think David put it on with Southeast, Jason. So we're just going to recap some of the stuff that they talked about last year. So document management, electronic files, electronic signatures, on-station, e-ticketing, unmanned aircrafts, field data collection tools, Autodesk, geographical information systems, and then maybe something they didn't talk so much about last year was e-contracting, where it's coming up, right-of-way map, external access to as-built and right-of-way plats, which has been asked for a while now. Mobile LiDAR, as more mobile stuff is becoming requested. Bluebeam, moving to the cloud in its new version, if you guys are Bluebeam users. Then AI, which is probably the hot topic, the buzzword everywhere. So we'll give you our little speech on it. Then obviously with moving into the workforce, we'll turn that over to David to talk. And then we'll finish with the everyday counts from federal highways from this last summer. I do have a lot of QR codes, so don't need to open them. Just like the guy from our lunch session, it's more to get more information about that topic, because we're going to be covering a lot of topics here. If you would like more information, you can click on the QR code and learn more about it. Yeah, remember I got 2 slides going here. And then we do encourage getting more ideas from external partners like yourselves. Internally, we get ideas, and we do look at those ideas and how we progress with innovative ideas. So here's a QR code. If you want to pop it up and you have an idea, I think I have like 2 questions in there. If you have an idea, what is it, or an issue or concern that you think needs to be addressed, pop it in there. David and I take a look at those and see how we can, address them or implement them in some of the software applications that we are releasing over the next few years. And then we also work with Wisconsin State Transportation Innovation Council. So we have different representatives from different industry partners on that Innovation Council. So we do talk about some of these topics. So if we do bring them up today, put them in that your idea in there, we can bring it up with that team as well. So we'll start out with Box. So Box.com, it's a secure cloud content management workflow collaboration. If you worked with the DOT, you probably have used Box because it is our main platform for content management for electronic files. But in 2024, they are releasing an AI component, kind of like ChatGPT or what Google Bard is now Gemini or something like that. So if you type in, or if you have a FDM in there, or you have a large manual that you don't want to feel like reading, you can put it in there and type it. Sum that up for you in a power or bullet point session. Or if you wanted to make a tweet for a PR, you can put it in there, give me a tweet for this, and then it'll actually put like hashtags and all these symbols in there that I have no idea what those even mean anymore. But it'll do it for you. It's pretty cool. Also, with Box, we did create the construction e-final guidance. So here's a QR code if you want to know about the e-final guidance. You can go more on there. It's on on the AWPKB website of the finals process and what we expect. Also with Box, we allowed us to create consistency between our regions for design and constructions because some regions would have something different labeled and other ones would have different. So with Box, we try to create that consistency statewide that we're all documenting those documents in the same way. DocuSign, obviously, as we move through the pandemic, all this electronic stuff became very popular, especially with electronic signatures. So it allows parties to sign contracts and other documents electronically. Current examples that we have kind of going on are tribal fair invoicing, environmental processes, governor contract and bond approvals. Then also we're working with Ron. So this QR code will take you to, I think, DFI website where they kind of go over the remote notary, if you want to know more about remote notary. For right now, we're doing it for equalization. And then for this 2024, we're looking into seeing how we can do the electronic contracting, so getting the signatures and the bonding company all to work in the same session. I don't know if you have any more you want to talk about.
This is just an example of things that come through. We started this in 2015, right? We were ahead of the time, let's say, for our agency. And here we are, 2024, almost 10 years later. And we're still trying to find a home for some of these technologies, right? Or even Box. Box is an example of something that I was told, Dave, you're never going to be able to get that done. You can't do it. You're never going to get the regions to work together. You're never going to get central office to have a similar folder structure. It takes a lot of collaboration. It takes teamwork. It takes a program. It takes leadership to get that done. So the Box evolution, who's using Box with the DOT right now? Anybody? So can you remember what it was like before? You had to get VPN access or using FTP sites and all that stuff. Got rid of all that, right? It's not perfect. Let's not pretend that. But look how far we've come, right? Now we're starting to integrate more tools like DocuSign into that workflow and just trying to make it better.
Yeah, and then the last session I was in across the hall here, they were bringing, they brought the points up of communication and documenting and taking photos. So I think a lot of the topics that we are talking here are tools that we can use for documentation, for taking photos, and making sure that we're communicating effectively on projects. Leading into e-ticketing, which is becoming a hotter topic this year, as we start kind of laying out the DOT plan on how we plan on implementing e-ticketing. So for everybody, kind of the background of e-ticketing really came from federal highways and the EDC Everyday Counts Initiative 6. So that was probably about 3 years ago. That's when we got started up and started discussing this internally, and we started talking with it externally. So we started coming up with our proposed plan. So in 2023, WSDOT encouraged the use of e-ticketing on all projects. Kind of stopped after that year, evaluated how we want to move forward, worked with federal highways, reached out to other states that are going through the e-ticketing process as well and seeing what issues they're coming up with. And then in 2024, we kind of looked at other state specs, see what they were looking at for e-ticketing, and we published our own e-ticketing spec that's out there right now. As I don't have that slide up for you guys. So the 109.4.3 is the electronic load spec that was added in 2024. It is included on selected projects. So we did, for every region, we did select 2 or 3 projects that we are kind of pushing e-ticketing on, but e-ticketing is open to any project. So if a company wants to use e-ticketing and doesn't want to use paper, they have transitioned already to e-ticketing. Yes, that spec's there for them. This year we'll evaluate, see where we're at with e-ticketing, and then in 2025 we'll increase those numbers of selected projects that we're collecting e-ticketing on. And then in 2026, we're not necessarily making it mandatory, but we're going to really encourage the e-ticketing and figure out why e-ticketing cannot be done on those few projects that are out there still. So some things that have been discussed on what that could look like is doing a waiver process. So you can't do e-ticketing because you don't have cell reception, or you don't have, or it's movable plants, or something like that, or the county is in a bad location that they don't have the technology, or it's a mom and pop shop that won't have e-ticketing components. So those are the things that we're kind of looking for over the next few years. Then we'll evaluate and see where we're going to go. We did partner with Haul Hub. We're piloting with Haul Hub this year. So Haul Hub was joined with ASHTO. So we procured Haul Hub. So we don't care what e-ticketing system you're using. You can use Command Elcon, Fleet Watcher. I think there's Apex out there. I'm sure you guys have your ticketing software already. This is just going to connect with that software that's currently out there for e-ticketing, and then bring it all consistently to WSDOT so we can store it and analyze that content moving forward.
So this is a two-part, right? There's the practitioner-facing side, what happens in the field, what happens with our suppliers, what happens with our partners. But then there's the organizational-facing side, getting that data. And those of you that have been in the field and have dealt with materials, you know the boxes of tickets, right? We gotta, as an industry, get away from that, because if we really want to use that data in terms of corporate, it's got to be electronic, even to a digital state here. So that's why I kind of say like this is really complex, right? There's an outside-facing practitioner one that we want to optimize. We want to make that business process as smooth as possible out in the field. But there is a corporate consumption on the back end that we also have to figure out how do we integrate that data to our corporate systems, like Ashton-Worth project and those things too. This is a big lift, right? This is a really big lift. You can see it's going to take years for us to get to that destination. But we hope that we have support from our partners, and we have it internal too. So.
I just noticed, are there words popping up down here when we're talking? Yeah. It was you. Yeah, not me. The next big one, OnStation. So phone-based GPS to give real-time location on projects. How many have used OnStation here? All right. I do encourage it. So OnStation is collaboration. So we share tags between team members, traffic control, modifications, photos of issues. You can see, got some examples of photos. Whoop, got to hit my next slide again. So you can see you can take photos, you can pin those to a specific location on a map in OnStation. So if you're going through a punch list, you need to go through those items. You have photos, exact location of where those items are. Also, improves that communication, which we talked about earlier. Document, communicate with the project team. This is a really great communication tool for the project team. Problem solving, so everybody's on the same page, on the same project, seeing the same thing out there. Also, it enhances safety, reduces the exposure time to heavy equipment by location, measures and tags, and then for nighttime construction as well. What's WisDOT's outlook on OnStation? We will continue to evaluate OnStation and other similar tools. So we're doing a proof of concept out of a form in OnStation. I think Walbeck and Matthew already have it in there. I think it's the density testing form. So we're going to be taking a look at that, creating that in OnStation and having that more public for other OnStation users in the Wisconsin area that are just Matthew and Walbeck. We'll continue to expand the use of OnStation on projects. You may see project managers asking you to use OnStation. Also plan to see what OnStation can and cannot be used for. So it's great for projects that don't have staking. Again, projects at night. So you're not running across the highway to see what staking you're at, and then high volume traffic locations. Anything on OnStation? All right. Moving on to drones. So I think drones are becoming more popular over the last couple of years as well. So we had some concerns or some issues brought to us, I should say, about creating a spec or a policy about drone use on projects. And if there are liability for those and insurance and all the stuff that kind of goes along with this new technology as well. So we started creating some outlines with specs that we hope to release this year or possibly next year. We're going to see how it goes. Looking at federal highway, their approval of the 107 waiver, pretty easy. General liability, pretty easy. Potential pre-qualifications of UAS operators, so if you want to be used on a project, we have that pre-qualified list, so we know who to select. That was an option that was thrown out there. Only used for WisDOT purposes, right? Data files to WisDOT. Other boilerplate definitions, if you've seen some of the special provisions for some of the survey and aerial photography, it'll be some of those boilerplates. We're just going to pull from that as well. So keep that consistency message or consistent message. Items that we're considering, site progress documentation in areas of visual project. So seeing how the project progress, site safety and issue resolutions, issue and conflict resolutions, use of estimating payments and interim qualities. The one big not is not for final payments. Work zone safety analysis, and then construction stages.
For the drone stuff, just for context, right? Within the DOT, we have DTIM, Investment Management. It's a different division. There's the Bureau of Aeronautics. The Bureau of Aeronautics is actually who owns the drone policy for the department. So we are just trying to play nice within that ring. Look for opportunities for us as a division and as partners to find the right use cases, the right insurances, the right vetting to make sure that we're doing this safely out on the grid. So what they've done is in their policy, they've delegated some authority to the actual division. So I'm our drone program supervisor. James is our drone program coordinator, and then we have delegations down into our different bureaus. So within the bureau structures, they're using UAS a lot for bridge inspections, and they kind of have their own structured responsibilities there. When we get to the construction side, or like the design side, data collection side, we're taking sort of an incremental approach here. So to make sure that the data that we're getting, or the data that we're getting out, is accurate. So that when you see the part that says not for final payments, you might think, well, why not? We have not figured out the spec and process the QC data coming in from a contractor saying, hey, we put down this many yards of concrete. How do we validate that? How do we know that that's been ground truth and that that quantity that's been given to us is accurate? We want it to be fair on both sides. We don't want to underpay or overpay, right? So that's what we're working towards. So there's all this kind of other framework of acceptable use that has less risk for us as partners. which could be things like site progress, the work zone safety analysis, those types of things that are still really important that we get done, yet it doesn't involve us getting into a bait over, was it 1, 2, 3, or 5, that kind of thing. So I hope that makes sense. We're working towards that idea of getting to final quantities at some point. Right now, we're working within the framework that we have, and that's kind of progress will be made over time.
Policy currently somewhere that states that trauma needs to be active.
That's what they're working on now.
This classes,
What's that?
like classes. We have contractors submitted this way so this is how much you're owing, so that's not accurate, that's not be measured.
Right.
Now, you can't prove your measurements.
Right, and that's been the issue, right? That's why we had to get to this point. No.
Some, if they write it in, if they wrote something into, like we have someone that wrote a provision to some of those contracts. They wrote a provision. I don't know if you have one on your contract or not. I know we did one for one of the Southeast projects,
Yeah.
but I don't know. I don't know all of them. But yeah,
That's why we're developing this to help with that.
any other questions? Please have the questions come. Raise your hand. All right, moving into field data collection tools. So every year we try to reach out get a STIC grant. So it's State Transportation Innovation, I think Council. It's about $125,000. So some of the new initiatives that we're looking at, we try to get a grant. So we're thinking through those a little closer and documenting them, and everybody's documenting them. But some of the things that we did for this field data collection tools is a 360 camera, which is really cool. I do have a short demo I could show you if we do have time at the end. I could show you how drop it down like a manhole. You can do a whole 360, or they'll actually drive down the road, the corridor, and you can actually just turn, stop, pause, and look at stuff. So it is pretty cool technology. Cradle Point. Something that when we're in those areas that don't have really good cell reception, we are piloting Cradle Points in some of the trucks. Recently, I was reached out about creating a suitcase of Cradle Points. So when you're out in the field, you can just bring the suitcase. It can be brought by anybody to get that extended Wi-Fi. In addition is Bad Elf GNS devices. So global network satellite system. Got it. So what those are doing, they're Bluetooth to our phone. So some of the issues with the OnStation, the accuracy wasn't very great at OnStation. So we got these Bluetooth GNN devices that'll actually Bluetooth your phone or tablet and then increase that accuracy when you're out in the field. But recently with the newer phones like i14 and some of the newer tablets, they actually have like a dual GNS or GPS location in those. So maybe these will become obsolete, something that we're going to be testing out this year as well. Emily Boat, so another QR code here. If you want to take a short video from Michigan DOT what the Emily Boat does. So we're doing it for inspection. So the scouring of bridges, we'll go out there, it does sonar for the scouring of bridges. You can drive it or remote it into a culvert, do a 360. We can use it when there's flooding. We're not sending boats out there. We have this lanyard that we can send out there. It's all remote control, jet stream. So it is pretty cool. I do encourage, if you're interested in that, check out the QR code. Another one that we're just looking into, I think we just got approval for, is the pipe trucker. It's that black little guy over there. There's another QR code for a video over there. That's go in the culverts. We take pictures. You can drive it in there, do your analysis of that, and get the data that you need for that as well. Any questions on the field data collection tools? Primavera Unifier. I spelled the Primavera on the top one wrong, but the second one's right. So Primavera Unifier is something that we're looking at, or we did use for Southeast. We're going to be expanding for the I-94 and then the Wisconsin Bridge that I'm aware of this year, and then continuing, possibly growing after that. What is it used for? So it is for project and program control software. It's a financial and costing controls, issues tracking, document management. So the current projects were the I-94, East-West, Wisconsin Bridge, the I-41. WisDOT continues to evaluate and look to increase the use of Primavera Unifier on WisDOT projects.
Anybody heard of that before? Primavera. There's also a Primavera P6 scheduler that we have been using, right? So Unifier used to be called Contract Manager, Oracle Contract Manager. Maybe you've heard that before. Goes back to data we used on Marquette, all the way back to the Marquette interchange, right? And so Oracle said, yeah, we're no longer supporting that. We had to do this massive upgrade. So now the reason why we're evaluating is because we put some time and energy into that migration. So we think it's a pretty powerful tool. We just want to make sure we're not pounding in that nail with a sledgehammer, that kind of thing. So, see, Jill, you probably remember Contract Manager. She cringed when I said that.
GIS. So QR code takes you to WisDOT's GIS page where all these are listed. You can look at all the maps. These are just the ones I think that we kind of released over or updated or tweaked over the last year. So the disadvantaged business, we have a park and ride one that we worked on, weight restriction bridges, highway construction skills training, culverts, height modernization, roundabouts, asphalt pricing, foreign languages, improvement program, winter weather interns, seasonal weight restrictions, and adopt a highway. If there are other GIS items that you guys would feel would be helpful, yep. Again, I'll show that QR code at the end. Let me know. We're always helpful to get those things that are out there that are more useful for you guys than what we think is useful for you guys.
How many of you knew we had this? The maps? A few. Right? We've been trying to bang the drum about the GIS stuff because, frankly, we're doing it right. We're spending the time at a corporate level to develop a spatial data repository. We're plumbing all that data that we can into that element, and then we're being able to publish certain pieces of that to the public, so it's self-serve. When you go on these maps, just make sure, like, if you find something like the DBE map, go on there and click one of the buttons. It brings up details, right? You get to actually see data underneath that dot, or road segments on the 2, 4, and 6-year program map. Click on that segment. It'll show you more details of, like, the type of project it is, when it's scheduled to begin, and end. So there's a lot of stuff under the covers we hope you'll explore.
Any questions on GIS? Related is the road right-of-way map. So something that we're looking at this year is creating a GIS features from our road right-of-way plats. Right now they're just PDFs, or now I guess more they're moving into the CAD file. So we want to create a living right-of-way boundaries of GIS, digitize our road right-of-way, modernize and enhance road right-of-way, create the ArcGIS online web mapping application. Mapping applications that host plat boundaries, polygon layers, road right-of-way feature layers, and then other polygon layer. I think I just doubled that word up. What's the plan for this? I think we have like 32,000 plats that are PDF, so it's going to take a while. So this year we're doing a proof of concept. Then in 25 we're going to determine the best method of attaining initial data sets and updating the WisDOT right away. So the CAD files. So taking the CAD files, pulling out that plat, and then dropping it into Esri tool to locate. And then in 2025 through 2028, 32,000 PDFs. It's a boring task, but it'll be nice to have it done. Any questions on this? External access to content, yes. So I think this has been talked about for 5 years, 6 years, maybe even longer, is getting consultants or contractors access to as-built. Right now seems, or right-of-way plats, seems like it's pretty hard. You got to request the DOT to get it for you. Doesn't make sense, but there's security walls that we can't get through. So what we did is picked it all up, moved it to a new location box that has that web content that we can share easily externally. So hopefully in this year, this fall, hopefully, we will have a site where consultants and contractors can access that content on their own. Not to say you can't reach out to DOT, we're not going to give it to you or find it for you, but at least it gives you that access to it. So we do want to create a security. We don't want to give it out to just the general public at this time. We want to make slow, thought through transition. So we're not going to open it to just the general public at this time. So we'll probably need to create some kind of account to know who's accessing that content probably out of the gate, and then we'll evaluate and see where we need to go from there. Does anybody, you want the as-built or road right-of-way plats or have this issue with DOT where you can't access this content? I see some heads nod, so all right. Another item that we are looking into this year, might be next year, trying to figure out funding. It's not cheap, is mobile LiDAR. So for those who may not know what mobile LiDAR is, I put the definition up here. I won't read it for you. It's pretty much reflecting light, but this allows us to accurately get our assets a little easier, and we can extract those assets through like AI. So if we wanted, all the signs, mobile LiDAR can just pull all that content out for us from just driving down the road through a mobile LiDAR. Pavement markings, special pavement markings, I just got a few of them here. Beam guard and those end treatments seem like it's a hot topic. The Meyer ADA, I think there's a federal bridge clearance heights one that we have to address in the coming years too. So meeting those requirements, I think mobile LiDAR is going to be a big help in obtaining that data.
Yeah, this was a big one, right? I don't know if you're familiar with LiDAR. It's a real powerful tool. Years ago, 2016, 17, it was real expensive. And the resolution of it wasn't very good. What we're seeing now is the technology is just going through the roof. And more importantly, the processing side of it has gotten way better. Using AI to do automated extraction, be able to do elements, where before it was all hand done. Somebody had to go in and find that element and extract. Corporately, the idea here is we got lots of regions, lots of bureaus doing lots of data collection. And when we kind of ask that question, well, what are we collecting and how are we collecting it? We got answers that we weren't real happy with. So coming up with like the corporate solution, like the centralized database of all things that are not only our division, but State Patrol can use some of this, or DTIM, or one of our partner divisions, can also use this as well. So we think there's a lot of legs here, and this is sort of the future of that data collection. It doesn't solve all of our problems, but I think it takes us a huge leap forward into having a stable data set to work from consistently.
Any questions on mobile LiDAR? Switching over to Bluebeam. How many use Bluebeam here? Oh, wow. All right. So I don't need to tell you what Bluebeam is, but maybe you guys are aware of this. It's moving to version 21, going to the cloud, accessible, which would expand our collaborations so we can work with contractors and municipal officials a little bit easier. Also, you can overlay or underlay, I guess, or term, maps, so GIS, so overlaying on GIS as well. So we're pretty excited about this update. I don't know how you guys are feeling about it, but we're pretty excited about all the new features that are coming out on Bluebeam. Any questions on Bluebeam? So artificial intelligence, I know everybody talks about it. I get lost. What is machine learning, deep learning, generative AI? Can't we just call it AI? But there are slight differences. So I hope this kind of breaks it down. AI is the general, and then you got machine learning, Then you got deep learning, and then generative AI is in there in the middle. So it kind of breaks it down that, generative AI is what we really want to get to because it can do a lot more stuff for us. But what's going on with AI in the state? So obviously we haven't officially got the approval to use AI, even though a lot of our applications are using some kind of AI behind the scenes it's happening. But we were all set to go. Then the governor's task force on workforce and artificial kind of like, oh, let's pause, see what this is about. And then the AI use, I think there was a Senate issue where they were looking into it, so it kind of paused us again. So WisDOT's current stance is WisDOT is taking a measured approach to opening access-based security use cases. So we're kind of on pause, evaluating what this all means and how it's going to impact DOT. But some software AIs, it's in everything, right? So Box has one. Bluebeam, where you can, I don't know if you guys heard, you can stitch different as-builts together, or you can drop and layer on them and it'll automatically kind of find the points to connect. So there's some cool things with Bluebeam coming out. Tableau, Microsoft has Copilot coming out, ChatGPT everybody's heard about, and then Gemini, which you've heard about as well.
Anybody in here an IT security professional? Yeah. This is what keeps them up at night, all day long. Like, they don't sleep. Our IT security folks are freaked out. Well, we're trying to take that measured approach, right? And knowing that it's embedded in some of our already existing softwares like Box, what it allows us to do is to fish in our own pond. Right? We're not trying to fish in Lake Michigan. We want to fish in the pond in my backyard. So that measured approach is, I think, appropriate at this point. And I'd be curious if anybody has really found the secret to success of your organizations without keeping your IT people breaking out.
Anybody have any comments about AI or thoughts, or you're using it, or it's helpful, haven't used it?
I think at the root level, right, AI is a tool. We want to provide all the best tools we can to our staff and to your staff, our partnerships, everything like that. At the end of the day, you're responsible for your work product, right? And that's what we've been stressing to people internally, is, yep, someday we're going to be using these tools, but when you sign off on something, when you submit something, your name is on something, you are responsible for that work product. You can't just regurgitate whatever ChatGPT spits out on the page, right? It doesn't work that way. So I think internally we're going to be looking also not just the IT practices and some of those environments, but also policies around staff learning and training around that, most importantly. Workforce. All right, I'm up. So Office of Workforce Innovation Budget and Communications was created to resolve kind of this gap that we had within the division. And it also was kind of rolling up different program areas. So I know I was in James's role before. We have admin, budget, performance management area. We have a communications group. I see Todd. I saw Dave back there before. And then there's a workforce development area that reports directly to me. These are just the high-level pieces we're working on, right? Workforce planning. What are our needs coming down the pipeline? How are we going to resource that? We need to shift model of how we have, resource modeling and the PDS units out in our regions. Recruitment, it's huge, right? And there's just an example of some of the events that we've been going to. We got some really talented people standing in front of those students telling our story. Our internship program is doing really well. I think we only have 15 positions out of 150 that we had posted left, so we're doing well there. That's the pipeline. We have anywhere it ranges between 55 and 70% of those interns become DOT staff. The pipeline is critical for us. Onboarding, anybody that's worked at WisDOT or currently works, I don't know what your onboarding experience was. No offense, Don. Mine was not very good. I was kind of left to the fishes on my own. So we want to create an environment where onboarding, orientation, training, you become part of the WisDOT family. So there's a lot of efforts going on there. Training and development. So things like creating a PDH development process for people to come through as they grow through the ranks as a CE. What's the path to get you to that PD? Let's develop a program and process for that. Retention. How do we retain the amazing talent that we do have? Things like recognition programs, career development opportunities, leadership development opportunities, employee engagement networks. We've got all kinds of great things happening. And then mentoring, right? So James is a recipient of not very good mentoring, I'll say. He's lucky that he worked with me long enough to kind of know what I did, and there wasn't a manual that I could hand to him. So he gets baptism by fire. That's not how we want to do things, right? And I admit that. That's not the best way to have somebody take over your as backfill or whatever. But beyond that, right, there's a real opportunity for some of our more senior professionals to tell their story, to share their experience. Knowledge and skills are different, right? I can become an FAA approved 107 pilot. I'm smart enough to pass the test. In fact, I have. Doesn't make me a skilled pilot. That's experience based, right? I got to practice that. And having somebody that's a really good pilot next to me saying, hey, you know what? When the wind shears this way, be careful. That transition, that mentorship, that collaboration is so important for us. And we're going to be turning the page to really focus on those elements over the coming time. And lastly, I'll mention things like AI, right? How do we build our workforce for that? What classification is that in WISDOT? How do I recruit that person? How do I get them enticed to come work in DTSD to work on AI? Because we're going to need those knowledge and skill sets in our organization in the future. And so part of that workforce planning effort is saying, okay, what do we have today? What's on the horizon? Or what's out in space that we don't even know yet? Let's work on those things as well. So a lot of activities under the workforce piece that tie back to some of the things that James mentioned today and beyond.
Any questions or discussion on workforce?
No one has vacancies, right? Everybody's full staff. Not struggling to recruit at all.
Wow. Good job, guys. Then kind of finishing this out, every day counts. So this came out this last fall, I think fall. So some of the initiatives that DTSD is looking into based on the federal highways is nighttime visibility for safety, the next gen TIM technology for saving lives, integration of greenhouse gas assessment and reduction targets, enhancing performance, EPDs for sustainable project delivery, rethinking the DBE design build. I think that was in 6 as well. And then strategic workforce development as well. QR code just takes you to the Federal Highways website to learn more. If you have questions on those, I'm probably not the best person to ask. We have teams assigned to each topic that are working on that. If you're interested, feel free to reach out to me. I'll have the QR code up again. I can help you connect with that person that's kind of coordinating that initiative as well.
Are you familiar with ADC at all? I would take the time to check it out. It's pretty cool. It was an act of Congress back in 2010 that said every 2 years we're going to have these cycles of what at the time they called market-ready innovations, or like kind of table-ready innovations. Back in EDC 1 was the establishment of state transportation innovation councils. So all the states and the territories have a stick, and that kind of was an initiation off of that round 1, which ultimately created the position that was hired for. Side note on that, in 2014, when I was hired, I was the first DOT innovation engineer in the nation. Think about that. How scary is that? Like 2014, we were the first ones, and it took that long. But now, here we are in 2024, it's pretty much every state has some element of innovation. And I'm really proud of the fact that we were able to sustain this over a lot of changes, right? Think about the last 10 years, a lot of changes. And then to be able to pass the torch on to James to be able to just carry that program forward. The big shift that we're seeing in EDC is the initial rounds were really like basic stuff. Safety edge, that beveled edge of that pavement. Just basic stuff that were just sort of market ready. Now we're getting into really complex topics like strategic workforce development. What does that mean? How do we do that? How do we work together? Or some of the other things like greenhouse gases or technology for saving lives. Like the topics have gotten really, really deep, really enriched, which is really exciting, but also back in the day, in the text, we would take all 10 initiatives in EDC 1, all 10 initiatives in EDC 2. We might take like 2 or 3 of these, because that's all we can really focus on, because they're very complex topic areas. So take the time, check out EDC, it's pretty cool. They have summary reports from the different rounds, state of the practice, that kind of stuff. It's been a really good program, I would say, at a national level, especially for them to have sustained it now 14 years. It's pretty amazing, you must admit. That's my plug for EDC. If anybody from Federal Highways here that can appreciate all this stuff?
Any questions on EDC? All right. So that's our emerging technologies. Again, the QR code. If you have an idea, you have a thought, you have an issue, put it in the QR code. David and I will probably take a look at those, or we will take a look at those. You're not doing it for nothing. And see how we can implement that or address it. I do have a section in there. If you want to be contacted on it, see how it might be addressed, or you want to be followed up on it, you can put your contact information in there as well. We can reach out. But yeah, let's open it up to any questions you guys might have. Otherwise, I'll turn it over to Don.
I have a question. This is for new ideas, but what if some of the ideas that you've been talking about, all these millions of ideas that you got going, what if they have questions, maybe their firm is trying to do something relating to developing one of those, and they want to talk to you guys, how best to get a hold of either one of you? Is it a QR code? Is it an email? Is it, what's the best way?
Anyway, I prefer a handwritten letter, but whatever. No, I mean, we're always open for conversations on this. That's how we get better. Questions on what we've done, what we're going to do. It's all fair game. Really, it's James's camp to lead now, but I'm always here to help too.
So again, get David Essie. You can probably find him on the WSDOT online. You can get his email, and you can get his, or James Bender. So if you got, I know.
Or just drop your names.
Yeah, that can work too.
So they do have the costing on their website. I think it's pretty fair cost. Otherwise, we do work with Onstation and talk to them quite mostly weekly right now. So yeah, I would have to go into the website to take a look at the cost. They have different tiers, the bundling, what you get, that's cost. Per user. You can get, they will do projects, but they don't like it. I think they actually remove the projects off their website, because we prefer that too. So if we're going to set up a project for WSDOT, we want all the consultants and contractors just to get it. And that was easy, but looking at their side, the business side, they're probably losing money by not getting all these other licenses. So I can see why they're doing it, but right now it's per user license. But I'm sure if you call Onstation, Patrick, they always seem to work something out. If you're wanting to look for something different, I would talk to Onstation about that. Yeah.
Does that help, Rick?
That tool's come a long way. We started using it as a pilot in 2015 or 16 on I-39. And we were really looking at for that station offset, that location part. And it was pretty basic at the time. That's about what it did. And I wish Jason Roselle was in here from Southeast. He's been banging me on the head for years now. If we need a system to manage photos, geolocated photos, where did we take it, what was it for? And that's one of the, I think, the emerging features at OnStation that I really appreciate. Our concern about OnStation, that repeatability, the accuracy, it's not going to be used for everything. We just can't. Reference, great. It's great for reference. But corporately, I keep saying this, but we have got to be able to take that data from OnStation, all the projects, every user, and roll it up. We have got to be able to pull that up from a project level and run reports against it, right? And that's where we're still kind of working with OnStation. We're not a big enough customer of theirs yet for them to develop that hook. We want to be able to push that data to our own GIS system. I don't need my folks spending time downloading, moving it over, uploading it over here. I want a direct connection. And also things like plumbing it to AshNowhere project. If we're going to be gathering data here electronically in the field, it should just go to the system it needs to. We shouldn't have to do shipping and handling along the way, right? So that's where I'm at with it. I think it's a great tool. OnStation's been a good partner to work with. I don't want to blame OnStation for the accuracy issue. That's an iPad issue or an iPhone issue. That's a limitation of the cellular connection. It's not the software's fault. I just want to be clear with that. But we're really trying to focus on that data element side of it as well. So that's where we're kind of plowing towards.
Any other questions for these gentlemen?
That's the video.
Oh, yeah. Just before they start that up, make sure there's an evaluation form. Fill that out, please. Also, if you haven't signed in for this particular class or workshop, you can go ahead over here on your way out, sign in. And again, thanks for these guys for giving us a lot of this great information on this new and exciting stuff.